I try to adapt my PowerPoint on medicinal beekeeping to beehive air therapy. And let's go. A few words about me, my location and my activities. I am located in Europe here. You see here Mediterranean Sea, Black Sea, and here is Romania. We are pretty close to Ukraine and also to Russia. Russia is extraordinary in apitherapy, also Ukraine is extraordinary in apitherapy. Unfortunately, the politicians these days are making a bit of stress. Okay, so here is Bucharest, the capital city of Romania, and we are located near about 1 hour from Bucharest, 1 hour from another major city, and about 40 minutes from another one. So we are in a pretty clean area. This is our house, our center, small center, and you see here is the bee house, and this is the human house. I suggest all of you, you'll do this kind of human bee house together, if it's possible in the future with some projects. Here I made a mistake though. I put this bee house oriented to the west. So it's not so good. It should be indeed oriented to the east, where when the sun is rising up, the bees should see the light. And see here some orientation, color orientation for the bees to recognize better where are their colonies. Environment is extremely important also for beehive air therapy because we need all those volatiles. So we need as many as possible of the volatile plants, especially the aromatherapy plants. Okay, here is one part of my library with books from all over the world. Here are courses which we are organizing every year for medical doctors in Romania. We have over 500 medical doctors trained officially and licensed in apitherapy, phytotherapy, and aromatherapy. Here are some courses which we organized. Here is one in France, and here is one very good friend of mine from France. With her, we wrote a book on apitherapy, a big book. And here is this big book, which is now under translating, under correction, under reviewing in English too. It's already like 95% done in German, and we have it also in Romanian, of course. And these are 2 other books of mine. We owe a lot on the apitherapy, actual apitherapy in the world to this gentleman, Professor Vyacheslav Harnash. He was the president of Apimondia for about 20 years. And he published many books, many Apimondia Congress books in several languages. And he has given the approval and support for the creation of the first apitherapy center in the world in 1974 in Bucharest, in downtown area. So he supported a lot apitherapy. Here is the center of apitherapy in Bucharest, in downtown. It's still functioning. Here is a pharmacy with Api Pharmacy too. And in this center worked also this famous doctor, Alexandru Parteniu, who was treating arthritis with bee venom and many other conditions. Now, beehive air therapy, if we'd like to give a definition of what is beehive air therapy, is an integrative complementary method that uses the volatiles from the beehive air to prevent, heal, or recover a living being, man, animal, or even plant from over 20 diseases, I would say major diseases conditions. Okay, so we can use the components to treat many, many conditions from the bees. The bee is a flying pharmacy. Here is an interesting concept launched by one professor from Russia many years ago, Professor Naum Yoyorish. He said that the bee is flying and is collecting all kinds of products. And if we look to these products, almost all of them have volatiles. Okay, for example, honey. We know honey has the smell of the flowers, especially the ones which are very intense, the strong aromatic plants. The smell, but also the aroma, of course, and the taste. And then we have honeydew honey, which is more from pines, from fir trees, and so on. Propolis, which has a very nice smell. So propolis, raw propolis, is smelling even 3, 4, 5 years after we collect it. Of course, during that time it loses the intensity, but it's very, very rich in volatiles. And also like Baccharis propolis from Brazil, it's also very powerful. Red propolis also can be used. And we have the beeswax with a lot of components too. especially the beeswax, which is not so white, but the beeswax which is a bit yellowish, brownish, because this yellowish beeswax, it is called Sera flava in Latin. It has more volatiles, more aromatic components. So these are helping the beehive air, the composition, and we have here photos from Jürgen Schmidtgen. We'll hear him later. And you saw this photo. Royal jelly has also components, including the pheromones from the larvae. The larvae communicate between them and between them and the bees and the queen through these special pheromones, which are practically volatiles. You heard about it in the previous presentations. Apilarnil, the drone larvae, also has a lot of pheromones and many other components. Bee pollen, fresh one, yes, it smells nice, but it has a lot of volatiles too, but the dried pollen, not anymore. And I saw quickly among our participants, Mr. Patrice Percy-Dusser from France, who is, let's say, the father of fresh frozen bee pollen or raw pollen used in apitherapy. He showed in several books that the fresh pollen is much better than dried pollen. Bee bread also has a certain aroma. Now, a few words about medicinal beekeeping, because we need in beehive air therapy clearly medicinal beekeeping and not an industrial beekeeping, not a regular beekeeping. So why is that? Because we need, and by the way, just for the history, we launched this idea of medicinal beekeeping. We have been the first in the world with this idea. Before 2010, we made a symposium in Malaysia in August 2010, and we discussed in detail about all these conditions and characteristics of medicinal beekeeping. But let me tell you shortly what are the differences between medicinal beekeeping and classical beekeeping. So first of all, it's a better quality of the bee products altogether, better quality. But more important than this, or at least as important, is we have we get through medicinal beekeeping more biopharmacologically active components, which means we get those compounds or those substances which can heal a certain disease. Okay, so how to achieve a better quality for the bee products and the beehive air? It's a logical one. Locate your apiary in a clean ecological area at least 30 kilometers away from any polluting source. So far away from pollution. No pollution should be in your area. No roads, especially no highways. Of course, in the future, like 50 years later, when all cars will be electric, the pollution will diminish a lot. But we need to do this as fast as possible. So natural areas, very, very nice area. It is very, very important for medicinal beekeeping. Then the materials which we are using, the beehive tools, extractor devices, and so on must be clean and as sterile as possible, not contaminated with any unwanted substance. So the collectors of the air, those special ventilators must be very clean, must be sterile when we put them on the beehives to do beehive air therapy. Such a beehive will be a disaster. It has a lot of residues, a lot of oxidized things. This metal, which is rusted and so on, is not good because this goes also into the beehive finally, and the bees are not very happy with this. So we need a very clean apiary and a clean beekeeper. Yes. Another condition: no antibiotics or any unwanted substance like varroa seeds should be given fed to the bees unless allowed by the medical coordinator of the apiary. So some varroa seeds, which are like based on organic acids after the season of beehive air therapy, can be used. But there are also other methods, very, very modern ones, where we can use the heat. And we'll hear a presentation from a professor from Vienna, Professor Wolfgang Wimmer. He will present how to run an apiary with no chemicals, not even with organic acids. So we need also in the beehive a very low biological load, very low biological contamination. And here I insist a bit, there are some diseases in the bee colony when the bees have diarrhea. because of nosemosis, because of various microorganisms or fungus and so on. And of course, the air of the beehive will be very, very bad, not to say that the bees are very, very unhappy. So anything which makes the bees unhappy will make also our customers unhappy. Here is the general drawing. This one you can also print screen. You can copy, I can send you also later to you. This is a kind of synthesis of what are the things we should not do around the beehive. So no heat, no sunlight. The heat will exaggerate the elimination of the volatile, so no excessive heat. Sunlight, okay, a bit to warm up, let's say like 35, 40 degrees Celsius, but not too much. So in Sahara, in Arabic countries, African countries, you must take care. The beehive should be somewhere in the shadow, not too much sunlight. Very, very important, I said, all my pathogenic microorganisms, like bad microorganisms, should be kept under control. Of course, we cannot eliminate all bacteria in the beehive. First of all, there are beneficial bacteria in the beehive. So, and also the researchers, they found out that there are incredible many microorganisms, different microorganisms in the beehive, many families. Some says like 80,000 different ones. What is important is to keep under control those bacteria which are giving diseases to the bees, like diarrhea, viral diseases, and so on. And we must keep under control the varroa. Varroa is one of the major stressor of the bee health. And we have methods to fight varroa too, complementary methods, alternative methods if you want. So no pollution of any kind, and also not too much ventilation outside. Like if you put the apiary in an area where there's a lot of wind, this will blow away the volatiles from the hive easier, especially if the beehive is not very well closed, tightly closed. So this should be also avoided. Okay, so practically the beekeeper needs to be in his apiary like a surgeon in an operation room. Very, very, very clean, as sterile as possible, yes? Now, where to find these volatiles? Tiago said also a bit, and also Bridget, we need to go to for the bee plants which have volatiles, more volatiles. So again, you ask your specialists in botanics, in pharmacognosy, where are the most important areas with the aromatic plants, and go for them. Just a short for definition. So herbal medicine, we know it's phytotherapy. Apitherapy is about 60% phytotherapy. But behavior therapy, we can say that it's an elegant form of aromatherapy. Some tricks to get more active components into the beehive products, like new small frames and activate the pollen trap in certain times. Like for example, here, if you have a smaller frame, you can get here a honey, let's say from sage or lavender or eucalyptus, which is rich in volatiles. And if you use small frames, the chance to have mono honey is higher than when you use a big frame. Because if you use a big frame, you'll have a combination of various plants, various sources of nectar. So this will make it difficult for you to go to a very pointed, very targeted therapy. So as small as possible, the frames, yes? Okay, and then there is one very, very good method to get the volatiles from the honey. It is to make centrifugation. So I'm giving you now a $1 million idea. You can adapt on top of this centrifugator, this device. You can put on top, here is like a lid with glass. So you can cover this glass, this thing completely, and then make an opening here, and then extract the air from the centrifuge here. So extracting the air like we have for the beehive air, the device for beehive air extraction, we can use it also on top of a honey extractor, okay? And thus, because the frames will go very, very quickly, the volatiles from the honey, because they are pressed on the walls of this centrifuge, they'll go also in the air. I smelled, and I'm sure all beekeepers who did this centrifugation in the past, they remember that the air from this device or in the room where the honey is extracted is like a divine aroma, divine smell. So this is also another complementary method to use for beehive air therapy. Now, how to get monopollens, because certain pollens have certain aromas. So especially the fresh ones, as I said. So it's okay to separate the pollen according to their colors. And there are several methods here. There are devices, machines which can do this. We can do also more or less manually, but there are also other tricks like you see running sushi principle, like when you go to the airport and then you wait for your luggages and you take only your luggage. So we can design a system where you can take only that kind of pollen which you like, that color which is important for you. Like you select, for example, only yellow pollen, only brown pollen, only greenish pollen. Then step by step you can get a monopollen color. And this, then you can use it according to the composition and aroma against different diseases. Also, we need to get microscopes, good laboratory equipment to confirm that that pollen is from that or that plant. Okay, and here it's another $1 million idea. We said that we need near apiary, our apiary, where we want to do the beehive air therapy, those beehives houses. And we see also tomorrow a very good presentation on apitourism. So what about to create, not like this one, it's an old system, but to put here the beehive air house, like on a truck like this one, and then go to areas where there are very strong, powerful aromatic plants flowering. For example, if you need to do beehive air therapy against insomnia, you'll go with your beehive air house to lavender fields, like you go maybe to southern part of France. If you want to get more antibacterial power, maybe you can get with your beehive house to Greece or to Turkey, where it's a lot of thyme plants, and so on and so on. So to do like migratory medicinal beekeeping, but also migratory beehive air therapy. Conclusions. The best beehive air is the one that is very clean and also very rich in useful components. Best medicinal beekeeping can be practiced only in clean ecological areas with an excellent biodiversity. And best beekeepers for medicinal beekeeping and for beehive air therapy are the health-oriented beekeepers. By the way, we will invite all of you later on to come to join our courses, online courses on beehive air therapy. These 2 days, we are just going to the most important points, but as you can see, we are going pretty quickly because we have many good, wonderful speakers. But later on, we'll settle down and we'll make a book on beehive air therapy, and we'll offer very detailed courses, online courses, and also physical courses at your places. Thank you very much for your attention.